Hello everyone, welcome back to Strawberry Podfics, and this time we are going back to that one-shot series that I did a bit ago, Assassin Meets Child, The Kid Wins. This is the second work in that series. There aren't any more so far, so there's just this one and then a waiting game. Anyways, and this is Assassin Commits Murder, Chaos Ensues by Sleepy Vibes. Summary. Let it be known that Shouta Aizawa is tired. It had been 14 days, 6 hours, and 45 minutes since Aizawa promised to murder Izuku's father, and he really needed a nap. Assassinating terrible people? Easy, simple, fun even. Dealing with the rest of the world? Not so fun. And let's go. It had been 14 days, 6 hours, and 45 minutes since Aizawa promised to murder Izuku's father, now known as Midoriya Hisashi, due to a surprisingly cheerful phone call from a woman named Inko. Again, what was it with these people giving Shouta their names? He was an assassin. Assassin. Anyway, after his phone call with Izuku's mother, he knew all he needed to put a bullet in this fucker's head. He deserved much worse, but the bastard was a cop, high surveillance and whatnot. With the cops already on his ass for disposing of a rapist, he had to be more careful than usual. Seeing as it was a Friday, in 30 minutes, Midoriya Hisashi would leave work early and take a train to Shiozaka before returning to Musatafu to his family. That he didn't deserve. What he did deserve for hurting a kid and fucking with what seemed to be the kindest woman on planet Earth was a knife to his throat and Shota's steel-tipped boots up his ass. Shouta is not attached. Midoriya Hisashi's actions once he's in Shiozaka are unknown. His phone is always turned off, and he comes back in a good mood. Shouta has been asked not to tail him that far, and he obliges. Inko suspects he's cheating, and Shouta does too. Neither of them mentions it. Shouta perches on the roof of the Shiozaka train station, unseen as he watches the 5 o'clock train ease its way into the station. The crowded station does nothing to distract him from his task. His eyes narrow as he watches his target exit amidst the sea of bodies. Shouta prowls on the rooftops, sticking to the shadows and stalking the curly-haired man. His capture weapon moves as an extension of himself, winding around fire escapes and lampposts as he trails the man, following him through the winding streets of the city, and lurked through the streets, breathing down Hisashi's neck, relishing in the mildly concealed fear he could taste as Hisashi looked over his shoulder, clutching his belongings slightly. An eerie grin spread across Shota's face as he watched Hisashi turn into an alleyway. Idiot. It's perfect. Ring, ring. Hey, babe. Yeah, I'll be there in a second. I just need to call my wife and tell her that I'm taking a late shift. I know. I said that. The chatter of him talking on the phone was drowned out by the blood rushing in Shota's ears. The gun in his holster was calling to him, beckoning him as he pictured Hisashi's face smeared on the pavement. A bullet through his skull was too good for someone like him. It wouldn't hurt if he spent a little more time on this guy. He'd be careful. The night was dark, desaturating the vibrant sunbeams and turning them into smears of gray. It was silent. The sounds of the city faded into nothing as Hisashi stepped further into the alleyway. Red eyes lit up in the darkness. His capture weapon slithered towards Hisashi. A grin grew on Shota's face as the capture weapon curled around Hisashi's neck. No one heard him scream. Blood splattered the walls of the alleyway as Shouta huffed. God, this was the most he smiled since he married Hisashi. The smell of copper was strong, sinking into his clothes and staining his skin. Wiping the blood off his knife, he tucked it back into its holster. He frowned at the mess. There wasn't really much of a body left to clean up. Plus, he wasn't planning on hiding a body. Normally he would just walk off, but he was soaked in blood. There was no way he could walk out in this. Plus, if he took to the rooftops in his current state, he would leave a trail of blood. He stripped off his jacket, pulling his lighter and fake ID from the pockets before stripping off his gloves. The bloodied capture weapon went in a Ziploc bag along with his knife and gloves. No chances. Kicking the bag under the dumpster and making a note to retrieve it later, he rifled through the pouches in his pants, a travel-sized bottle of rubbing alcohol, a crumpled-up sticky note, and matches. Perfect. The alcohol was poured onto the ground, cleaning away any bloody footprints left on the concrete. Most were Hisashi's, but better safe than sorry. He meticulously drenched the alleyway, the body, and his jacket in alcohol. He hummed, smiling sinisterly as he lit a match. The one good thing Hisashi might have done in his entire life was have a fire-breathing quirk. Combustible blood was definitely a plus. See, the issue wasn't Shouta committing homicide. Neither was setting fire to the alleyway. The problem was when he had successfully left the alleyway, he just so happened to stumble onto a robbery. He genuinely didn't even care enough to help this time. He was just walking by, attempting to get around the block to climb up onto the roof when he was grabbed and taken as a hostage. A hostage? Him? Really? He was dragged into the store, threatened and screamed at by some kids, they couldn't be older than 18, who had no business robbing anything in the first place. Then he was ushered to a corner and weakly threatened into a corner with other cowering civilians. So there he was, at 6:10 in the evening, sitting in a crowd of shit-scared civilians, fuming because some pathetic convenience store robber was waving an unloaded gun in his face. If you're gonna threaten people, at least load the gun. Honestly, Shouta kind of felt bad for the kid, but the little sympathy he had faded when for some fucking reason they decided to use him as a bargaining chip. The gun, again, unloaded, seriously, dug into his back as he was dragged back out of the store to be paraded around in front of cameras. "President Mike, I'll shoot this man if you don't let us go." Shota's eyes twitched. Not only was he humiliatingly plastered on live television, his husband had to save him. Great. Hisashi was never going to let him live this down. He could already see him snickering from here. Hisashi's eye twitched as the gun was pressed to Shota's head, holding his hands up in a placating manner. To most, it would seem like he was attempting to soothe a high-strung criminal, but Shouta knew better. He was desperately trying not to laugh. The traitor. Hey, listener, why don't we chill and talk this out, huh? No one needs to get hurt. President Mike stepped closer, and Shouta grinned as the kid yanked him back by the hair. Shouta grunted as the kid yanked him back by the hair. Firstly, ow. Secondly, that right was reserved for his husband, thank you very much. A swift punch later, the gun lay in Shota's hand, and he promptly handed it off to Hisashi before getting the hell out of the range of the cameras. The heroes present blinked, startled as Shouta grumbled and stalked away. They tried to stop him, to see if he needed medical attention, but a tired glare forced them away. His phone, burner, he's not an idiot, buzzed, and an unknown number sent a flurry of laughing cat emojis. Yep, that was Hisashi, the stupid, lovable bastard. Anyway, it was high time Shouta got back to his apartment, cleaning up and disposing of evidence, getting his gear back, and then swinging by the Midoriyas to give Inko the good news. He was close, only a few blocks from his apartment, when quiet sniffles caught his attention. Oh, hell no. One stifled scream later, he rounded the corner, following the soft, young-sounding sounds to a grimy alleyway. His nose wrinkled as he swerved a suspicious puddle and moved closer. With a bang, something jumped out, overturned some errant trash cans and what looked to be a makeshift, soggy cardboard bed. Shouta sighed inwardly as he took in the sight before him. A scruffy, underweight kid holding a knife in his direction and glaring fiercely, tears streaming down his face from the harsh metal of a muzzle cutting into his skin. "Here we go again," he muttered, staring down at the tiny rat. This was going to be a long day. Hisashi trudged home, bones creaking as he shuffled to his apartment. God, today was draining. It was funny seeing Shouta pretend to be held hostage, though. Definitely the high point of his day. A yawn tore through his lips as he slunk through the lobby, lazily flicking his keycard to the elevator, bringing himself up to the lovely little shoebox he called home. It's good, and God knows he could afford bigger, but it was his first apartment. Shouta had lovingly forced him to move out after the entire shit show that was Hisashi's coming out. It's been almost 5 years of watching Shouta bristle and shove money in his face every time he mutters about rent. 4 years of pretending he wasn't terrified of what Nezu and his probably criminal best friend, and his probably a criminal best friend, were getting up to when Shouta came home bloody. 3 years of realizing that he was hopelessly in love with Shouta, and that in his odd way, Shouta loved him back. 2 years of learning exactly what it was Shouta was doing, and assuring the man that he still loved him anyway. And 1 year since the wedding, 1 year since marrying the love of his life, the dopey smile on Hisashi's face remained, even as he stepped out of the elevator and dragged himself to the door. He had promised himself a long bath and cuddles with Shouta if he was home. With this in mind, he pushed open the door, kicking off his shoes with a sigh. He opened his mouth to call Shouta. A choked gasp left his throat, and his eyes widened as he made eye contact with the bloody giant of a man that was his husband. Blood was splattered across Shota's face and dripped off the menacing gold brass knuckles still snug on his hands. Said man was bleeding slowly, oddly reminiscent of a smug feline as he gazed at Hisashi blankly. The next most notable thing was the open first aid kit on the counter, and Hisashi's mind panicked briefly, wondering where Shouta was hurt. Before he could panic for much longer, his brain froze, taking in the sight of a glaring kid perched on the counter, holding a blood-stained knife. Hisashi could only sputter dumbly as he looked at the sight. He stabbed me. We're keeping him. Shouta, baby, light of my life. No. He doesn't have anywhere else to go. His guardians are dead. Hisashi sighed, rubbing his temples. And why are his guardians dead? Shouta paused, shuffling minutely. He frowned slightly. Zashi. They were abusive. They muzzled him. It was a tense few minutes of staring, both Shouta and the mysteriously acquired child glaring at him bleedingly. He was so fucking whipped, wasn't he? I'm going to shower, and you are going to clean both of you up. When I come out, there better be a cup of hot chocolate waiting for me, or so help me God, you're sleeping on the couch. With that, and a glare at his smugly preening husband, Hisashi turned to the kid. Hey, kiddo, that was a rough first impression, wasn't it? He smiled softly, tiredly at the suspicious expression on the listener's face. I'm Hisashi Yamada, but you can call me whatever makes you the most comfortable. Could I have a name or a nickname to call you? I can't call you kid. I can't just call you kid forever. The kid gazed at Hisashi with a glimmer of doubt apparent in those big purple eyes, before glancing at Shouta, who gave him a mildly encouraging shrug. He spoke with a soft voice, rough and scratchy from disuse, and kept a fist clenched in Shota's shirt, and the other keeping a firm hold on a bloodied pocket knife. Hitoshi. And that is the end of this one-shot. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know what to do. And I will see you next time.